Coming from the farthest reaches of the universe to challenge the worst villains on Earth are the most powerful heroes ever in the battle of the Superpowers Collection.
Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. Today we're taking a look at the all-new Superpowers Brainiac and Skull Ship by McFarlane Toys. Starting with the packaging, and as I always say, this is one of the best parts of a Superpowers figure. He's a Brainiac on the floor. Speaking of logos, and here we have the 90s version of the McFarlane Toys one. Flipping around back, we got a bio for Brainiac if you want to read it. We can also see all 33 figures that McFarlane's released so far in this series. 33 figures, and the only female characters are Wonder Woman and a repaint of Wonder Woman. I wonder what Brainiac's idea that was. Down here we can see some available vehicles. Vehicles like the Skull Ship, Brainiac's high-tech spacecraft. We get some fun artwork on the front. It's a small thing, but I like the shading on those hexagons. We see that again up top, and then on the back we can see some pictures. Seats one figure. I wonder who it could be. And then down here we got nothing but legal, a barcode, and instructions how to build it. For packaging, Brainiac and the Skull Ship get 5 points. Why is it that Superpowers figures can just be snapped into their bubbles to conveniently be able to pop out, whereas DC Multiverse has to have a million jillion straps holding them down? Moving on to presentation, a Brainiac stands at 4.5 inches and appears to be a 100% completely new sculpt. Leastways, I went through my complete Superpowers collection and couldn't find any matching pieces. While the original Superpowers Brainiac went for a more menacing skeleton robot design, this one opted for some Silver Age flair, by which I mean a flared collar. Is he scary? No. But if you ask me, this is the perfect design for a character named Brainiac. All I'm saying is if I rolled up wearing nothing but a long sleeve fuchsia polo, a black Speedo, and some Ron DeSantis boots, somebody would likely point and say, hey, look at that Brainiac. All joking aside, I do really get a kick out of this version. The head's been sculpted really well with all of his little head circuits, and to be honest, it feels a lot more consistent with the sculpting from the original series, leastways compared to McFarlane's earlier efforts. In addition to the circuits on the head, other details have been sculpted. This includes the cuffs of the sleeves, which could have easily just been painted, the tops of his go-go boots, and the belt with his Lego buckle. I will say the stamps on the inner leg are a bit much. I would hope that there'd be at least a little bit more of a discreet place to put these, maybe a fashionable tramp stamp. As for the Skull Ship, that's going to take some assembly. Fortunately, the tentacles are all labeled. Additionally, McFarlane labeled where they're supposed to go. R2! Wow! And there we have it. The main body of the ship is white, but does have some silver accents along with some clear plastic windows. It's hard to tell because of the backdrop, but they're actually tinted blue. And just like on the box art, there's that cool shading in real life. The face is sufficiently sinister. Not unlike the Terminator, it's a silver skull with menacing red eyes, whereas the mouth reminds me a little bit of a gas mask. The cheekbones actually lead to tailpipes, and the dashboard has a control panel sticker that's already been stuck on for me. Just look at all those buttons and knobs. The interior is purple with a peg, and we see that again on the bottom. Nice use of the Brainiac logo in the design. If you want to see how Brainiac looks in it or what it does, too bad. That's a matter for Playability. Overall, these items are very consistent with the look and feel of the original Superpowers collection. For presentation, I'm giving Brainiac and the Skull Ship 5 points. Moving on to Posability, and I think we know what to expect from this line by now. The head can swivel, the shoulders can swivel, the hips can swivel, and the knees can hinge. Fortunately, the figures have peg holes, so with figure stands you can at least do something. As for the Skull Ship, the legs do technically move, they're just not actually articulated. As I always say in one of these Superpowers videos, this line is a tribute series and the limited articulation is on purpose. So with that in mind, I always give these guys a pass. Only because it's Superpowers and this is how it's supposed to be. For Posability, I'm giving Brainiac 5 points. Moving on to Playability, and these new Superpowers figures don't have action features or anything like that. They're mainly just designed to look cool. Of course, what looks cool is subjective. The original Kenner figure could kick, and you know, maybe we don't need this guy doing the can-can in his little shorty shorts. After all, this one has a Skull Ship to play with. Okay, I think I've made you wait long enough to see what Brainiac looks like in this thing. Ba-ba-ba-ba! Oh, wait, wrong one. This one isn't so much his Skull Ship as much as it's his Skull Segway. There we go. Not sure if the size of this really constitutes a ship exactly, but it is like a fun personal battle tank. Open wide, here comes the skull ship. Not gonna lie, this is pretty adorable. And if you're curious, the animated series version fits in there just fine as well. Sorry I can't show you how the original Superpowers version looks in there. Of course, playability is more than just action features or figures I don't have. It's about comparing this figure to the other figures I already do. Beginning with the only other Brainiac in my collection at this scale, and here we have the Superman animated series version. Speaking of Superman, and here's the Kenner and McFarlane Superpowers version of him. From the Man of Steel to the Cape Crusader, and here are Kenner and McFarlane versions of classic Batman, and here he is with Hush. Just like the DC Multiverse version, and he towers over everybody. Rounding out the Trinity, as I like to say, and here we have Kenner and McFarlane versions of Wonder Woman. As we can see, McFarlane skewed kinda tall in their early releases. We can particularly see that with Aquaman. As evidenced by Green Lantern though, and they have corrected the course, though I'm still not crazy about this warmer green that they used for him. I much prefer the more emerald green of McFarlane's John Stewart. Finishing off my Justice League, and here we have the Kenner Martian Manhunter. Veering into villainy, and here's the original Superpowers version of the Joker, as well as the Penguin. But for a couple of Toy Biz era villains, and here we have my very rundown Mr. Freeze and Lex Luthor. Now that McFarlane's redone Brainiac, I really hope that they give us a new Lex in this costume. On the subject of McFarlane Superpowers villains, and that brings us to the Batman Who Laughs. Slade Wilson, not to be confused with Wade Wilson, also known as Deathstroke the Terminator. Black Manta, the original version of Sinestro. And Darkseid, one of my favorite additions to the new McFarlane line. That said, for some similarly scaled retro figures, and here's Corporal Hicks from the Kenner Aliens line. Next we have Darkstorm from Visionaries by Hasbro. Here we have Iron Man from Marvel's Secret Wars by Mattel. They came out the same year as Superpowers and had even less articulation, but for literally all the articulation, and here's Marvel Universe Iron Man by Hasbro. Next up is the new-ish Miles Morales from the Epic Hero series, but for a relative scale comparison, here's the 3 3/4 inch retro Spidey along with the Toy Biz Spider-Man, and as always, here he is with Stealth Iron Man. Heh. Cute boots you got there, Go-Go. You're just jealous because I can wear boots. Well, you're not wrong. When it comes to McFarlane Superpowers, my two favorite things are the villains and the vehicles. This pairing does a great job of checking both those boxes. For playability, I'm giving Brainiac and the Skull Ship 5 points. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. Unlike previous waves, which were Walmart exclusives, Brainiac is widely available through online retailers like Amazon, GameStop, and Big Bad Toy Store, and retails for only $10. By contrast, the Skull Ship is only $20. Compared to a larger vehicle like the Batmobile or the Supermobile, which retailed for $30, I think that's a pretty good deal. And considering the Batwing I bought was only $20, I think that's pretty comparable. I would point out that while my Walmart sold the Batwing for $20, it did go up to $30 pretty much everywhere, and at a time where prices only ever seem to go up, making this great a vehicle $20 was a pretty brainy move. For price, I'm giving Brainiac and the Skull Ship 5 points, averaging out to a perfect total of 5 out of 5. Of course, Brainiac and the Skull Ship aren't the only new Superpowers items I have for us to look at. Heck, he's not even the only Brainiac. Those, however, are conversations for another day. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.